Hello, everyone. This is Nanette Kennedy and friends. We're going to be reading Conversations with God, Book 3, Chapter 14 by Neil Donald Walsh. And this is our weekly group, and we're with Humanities Team and the Evolution Revolution. And I can't tell you what page number the chapter starts on because we all have different books. And so just go to chapter 14 in book 3. And Linda is reading for us. So Linda, why don't you go ahead and get started?
All right. This is chapter 14, and it starts with Neil. I'm filled with awe and reverence at the reading of those words. Thank you for being here with me in this way. Thank you for being here with all of us. For millions have read these words in these dialogues, and millions more will yet to do so. And we are breathlessly gifted by the coming of you to our hearts. My dearest beings, I have always been in your hearts. I am only glad that you now actually feel me there. I have always been with you. I have never left you. I am you, and you are me, and we shall never be separated, ever, because that is not possible. Hey, wait a minute. This feels like a deja vu. Didn't we just say all of those words before? Of course. Read the beginning of chapter 12. Only now they mean even more than they meant the first time. Wouldn't it be neat if deja vu was real and that we really are sometimes experiencing something over again so that we can get more out of it? What do you think? Well, I think that's exactly sometimes happening. Unless it's not. Unless it's not. Good. Bravo again. You are moving so rapidly, so quickly to massive new understandings that it's getting scary. Yes, it is, isn't it? Now I have something serious I need to discuss with you. Yes, I know. Go ahead. When does the soul join the body? Well, when do you think? When it chooses to. Good. But people want a more definitive answer. They want to know when life begins, unless they know it. Life as they know it. Yes, I understand. So what is the signal? Is it the emergence of the body from the womb, the physical birth? Is it the moment of conception, the joining of the elements in physical life? Life has no beginning because life has no end. Life merely extends, creates new forms. Oh, so it must be like that gloppy material in those heated lava lamps that were so popular in the 60s. The globs would lay in big soft round balls at the bottom and then rise up from the heat, separating and forming new globs, shaping themselves as they rose, rejoining each other at the top, cascading together to form even larger globs of the all, and starting all over again. There were never any new globs in the tube. It was all the same stuff, reforming itself into what looked like new and different stuff. The varieties were endless, and it was fascinating to watch the process unfold over and over again. That's a great metaphor. That's how it is with souls. The one soul, which is really all there is, reforms itself into smaller and smaller parts of itself. All the parts were there at the beginning. There are no new parts, merely portions of all that always was, reforming itself into what looks like new and different parts. There's a brilliant pop song written and performed by Joan Osborne that asks, what if God was one of us? Just a blob, just a slob like one of us. I'm going to have to ask her to change the lyric to, what if God was one of us, just a glob like one of us? That's very good. And you know, her song was a brilliant song. It pushed people's buttons all over the place. People couldn't stand the thought that I am no better than one of them. That reaction is an interesting comment, not so much on God, but on the human race. If we consider it blasphemy for God to be compared to one of us, What does that say about us? What indeed? Yet you are one of us. That's exactly what you're saying here. So Joan was right. She certainly was. She was profoundly right. I want to get back to my question. Can you tell us anything about when life as we know it starts? At what point does the soul enter the body? The soul doesn't enter the body. The soul is enveloped by, the body is enveloped by the soul. Remember what I said before? The body does not house the soul. It is the other way around. Everything is always alive. There is no such thing as dead. There is no such state of being as dead. That which is always alive simply shapes itself into a new form, a new physical form. That form is changed with living energy, the energy of life always. Life, if you are calling life the energy of that I am, is always there. It is never not there. Life never ends. So how can there be a point when life begins? Come on, help me out here. You know what I'm trying to get at. Yes, I do. You want me to enter the abortion debate? Yes, I do. I admit it. I mean, I've got God here, and I've got a chance to ask the monumental question, when does life begin? And the answer is so monumental you can't hear it. Well, try me again. It never begins. Life never begins because life never ends. You want to get into biological technicalities so that you can make up a rule based on what you want to call God's law about how people should behave, and then punish them if they do not behave that way. Well, what's wrong with that? That would allow us to kill doctors in the parking lots of clinics with impunity. Yes, I understand. You have used me and what you have declared to be my laws as justification for all kinds of things through the years. Oh, come on. Why don't you just say that terminating a pregnancy is murder? You cannot kill anyone or anything. No, but you can end its individuation, and in our language, that's killing. You cannot stop the process wherein which a part of me individually expresses in a certain way without the part of me that is expressing in that way agreeing. What? What are you saying? I'm saying that nothing happens against the will of God. Life and all that is occurring is an expression of God's will. Read that, your will, made manifest. I have said in this dialogue, your will is my will. That is because there's only one of us. Life is God's will expressing perfectly. If something was happening against God's will, it couldn't happen. By definition of who and what God is, it couldn't happen. Do you believe that one soul can somehow decide something for another? Do you believe that as individuals, you can affect each other in ways in which the other does not want to be affected? Such a belief would have to be based on the idea that you are separate from each other. Do you believe that you can somehow affect life in a way which God does not want life to be affected? Such a belief would have to be based on the idea that you are separate from me. Both ideas are false. It is arrogant beyond measure for you to believe that you can affect the universe in the way in which the universe does not agree. You are dealing with mighty forces here, and some of you believe that you are mightier than the mightiest force. Yet you are not, nor are you less mighty than the mightiest force. You are the mightiest force, no more, no less. So let the force be with you. Are you saying that I can't kill anybody without his or her permission? Are you telling me that at some higher level, everyone who has ever been killed has agreed to be killed? Now you're looking at things in earthly terms, and you're thinking of things in earthly terms, and none of this is going to make sense to you. Well, I can't help thinking in earthly terms. I'm here right now on earth. I tell you this, you are in this world, but not of it. Okay, so my earthly reality is not reality at all? Did you really think it was? I don't know. You've never thought there's something larger going on here? Well, yes, sure I have. Well, this is what's going on. I'm explaining it to you. Okay, I got it. So I guess I can just go out now and kill anybody because I wouldn't have done it anyway if they hadn't agreed. In fact, the human race acts that way. It's interesting that you're having such a hard time with this, yet you're going around acting as if it were true anyway. Or worse yet, you're killing people against their will as if it didn't matter. Well, of course it matters. It's just that what we want matters more. Don't you get it? In the moment we humans kill somebody, we're not saying that the fact that we've done that doesn't matter. Why, it would be flippant to think that. It's just that what we want matters more. I see. So it's easier for you to accept that it's okay to kill others against their will. This you can do with impunity. It's doing it because it is their will that you feel is wrong. Well, I never said that. That's not how humans think. It isn't. Let me show you how hypocritical some of you are. You say it's okay to kill somebody against their will so long as you have a good and sufficient reason for wanting them dead, as in war, for instance, or an execution, or a doctor in the parking lot of an abortion clinic. Yet if the other person feels they have a good and sufficient reason for wanting themselves dead, you may not help them die. That would be assisted suicide, and that would be wrong. Okay, you're making mock of me. No, you're making mock of me. You're saying that I would condone your killing someone against his will, and that I would condemn your killing someone in accordance with his will. This is insane. Still, you only fail to see the insanity. You actually claim that those who point out the insanity are the ones who are crazy. You're the ones who have your head on straight, and they're just the troublemakers. And this is the kind of tortured logic with which you construct entire lives and complete theologies. Well, I never really looked at it that way. I tell you this, the time has come for you to look at things a new way. This is the moment of your rebirth as an individual and as a society. You must recreate your world now before you destroy it with your insanities. Now listen to me. We are all one. There is only one of us. You are not separate from me, and you are not separate from each other. Everything we are doing in concert with each other. Our reality is a co-created reality. If you terminate a pregnancy, we terminate a pregnancy. Your will is my will. No individual aspect of divinity has power over any other aspect of divinity. It is not possible for one soul to affect another against its will. There are no victims and there are no villains. You cannot understand this from your limited perspective, but I am telling you it is so. There is only one reason to be, do, or have anything, as a direct statement of who you are. If who you are as an individual and as a society is who you choose and desire to be, there is no reason to change anything. If, on the other hand, you believe that there is a grander experience waiting to be had, an even greater expression of divinity than the one currently manifesting, then move into that truth. Since all of us are co-creating, it may serve us to do what we can to show others the way that some parts of us wish to go. You can be a way shower, demonstrating the life you'd like to create and inviting others to follow your example. You might even say, I am the life and the way, follow me. But be careful. Some people have been criticized for making such statements. Thank you. I'll heed that warning. I'll keep a low profile. I can see that you're doing a real good job of that. Well, when you say you're having a conversation with God, it's not easy to keep a low profile, as others have discovered, which might be a good reason to keep my mouth shut. Well, it's a little late for that. Well, whose fault is that? I see what you mean. It's okay, I forgive you. You do? Yes. How can you forgive me? Because I understand why you did it. I understand why you came to me and started this dialogue. And when I understand why something was done, I can forgive all the complications that may have caused or created it. Well, now that's interesting. Would that you think of God as being so magnificent as you? Touché. You have an unusual relationship with me. In some ways, you think you could never be as magnificent with me, and in other ways, you think I cannot be as magnificent as you. Don't you find that interesting? Fascinating. It's because you think we are separated. These imaginings would leave you if only you were to think that we are one. This is the main difference between your culture, which is a baby culture, really, a primitive culture, a highly evolved cultures of the universe. A primitive culture and I'm going to read that again. This is the main difference between your culture, which is a baby culture, really, a primitive culture, and the highly evolved cultures of the universe. The most significant difference is that in highly evolved cultures, all sentient beings are clear that there is no separation between themselves and what you call God. They are clear that there is no separation between themselves and others. They know that they are each having an individual experience of the whole. Oh, good. Now you're going to get into the highly evolved societies of the universe. I've been waiting for this. Yes, I think it's time we explored that. But before we do, I simply must return one last time to the abortion issue. You're not saying here that because nothing can happen to the human soul against its will, it's okay to kill people, are you? You're not condoning abortion or giving us a way out on the issue, are you? I am neither condoning nor condemning abortion any more than I condone or condemn war. The people of this country, I think I condone the war they are fighting and condemn the war of their opponent is fighting. The people of every nation believe they have God on their side. Every cause assumes the same thing. Indeed, every person feels the same thing, or at least hopes it is true, whatever any decision or choice is made. And do you know why all creatures believe God is on their side? Because I am. And all creatures have an intuitive way of knowing this. This is just another way of saying, your will for you is my will for you. And that is just another way of saying, I have given you all free will. There is no free will to exercise if in certain ways produces punishment. That makes a mockery of free will and renders it counterfeit. So with regard to abortion or war, buying that car or marrying that person, having sex or not having sex, doing your duty or not doing your duty, there is no such thing as right and wrong, and I have no preference in the matter. You are all in the process of defining yourselves. Every act is an act of self-definition. If you are pleased with how you have created yourself, if it serves you, you will continue doing so in that way. If you are not, you will stop. It's what's called evolution. Every act is an act of this is called evolution. The process is slow because as you evolve, you keep changing your ideas about what really serves you. You keep changing your concepts of pleasure. Remember what I said earlier. You can tell how a highly person or society has evolved by what the being or the society calls pleasure. And I will add here, by what it declares to serve it. If it serves you to go to war and kill others, you will do so. If it serves you to terminate a pregnancy, you will do so. The only thing that changes as you evolve is your idea of what serves you. And that is based on what you think you are trying to do. If you are trying to get to Seattle, it will not serve you to head to San Jose. It is not morally wrong to go to San Jose. It simply doesn't serve you. The question of what you're trying to do then becomes a question of prime importance, not just in your life in general, but in every moment of your life specifically, because it is in the moments of life that a life itself is created. All of this was covered in great deal in the beginning of our holy dialogue, which you have come to call Book 1. I'm repeating it here because you seem to need a reminder, or you would never have asked me your question about abortion. When you are preparing to have your abortion, therefore, or you are preparing to smoke that cigarette, or when you are preparing to fry and eat that animal, and when you are preparing to cut that man off in traffic, whether the matter is large or small, whether the choice is major or minor, there is only one question to consider. It is who I really am. Is this who I now choose to be? And understand this, no matter is inconsequential. There is a consequence to everything. The consequence is who and what you are. You are in the act of defining yourself right now. That is your answer to the abortion question. That is your answer to the war question. That is your answer to the smoking question and the meeting question and every question about behavior you've ever had. Every act is an act of self-definition. Everything you think, say, and do declares, this is who I am.
Thank you, Linda. I always have trouble with this chapter about life has no beginning because life has no end. Life merely extends and creates new forms. I understand that sentence. But if you skip down on whatever, I don't know what page this is for you guys, where Neil's describing the lava lamp, and then God says, that's a great metaphor. That's how it is with souls. The one soul, which is really all there is, reforms itself into smaller parts of itself. All the parts were there at the beginning. And he just said that God just said life has no beginning because life has no end. So I get a little bit confused when God's talking about there is no beginning, but there is a beginning. And if anybody else wants to comment to that.
I think yeah, so that, at one point there was some beginning. There was some initial beginning from whence everything else comes. And so I think that that's the tricky part in this concept and in this paragraph here, is that once created, there are no new parts. But there had to have been some initial inception. Or we just, the other thing is to just, you let that go. You let go needing, where did the all one come from?
Yep. I like your...
And you just move forward from there.
Yeah, I like your explanation about, it had to begin at some point. And I also like, don't get hung up on it. But that's me. Sometimes I do that.
Nanette,
yes.
There is an article today in the newspaper here regarding Brian Blessed. I don't know if you know of him. He's well known. He's a well-known actor, and it says, I'll read it. It's a short paragraph, and it says, Brian Blessed has shared another astonishing story. He believes he met the reincarnation of his dead brother, reborn as the son of a Canadian fisherman. In an interview with today's Event magazine, the 80-year-old says that the Dalai Lama told him that his brother Alan, who was ill with leukemia at the time they met, would be reincarnated in line with Buddhist belief. The actor recalls he said, when he dies, you will see him again as a little boy in Halifax, Nova Scotia. He loves fishing, he will become a fisherman. That came true, said Blessed, while he was filming a 2006 movie in Nova Scotia. He said, my brother had been dead for 5 years, and there he was, with a Canadian accent, looking exactly as he had looked when he was a little boy. The boy's father was a fisherman. That was a comfort to me. No one dies. Rather less spiritually, Blessed also reveals that he quizzed the Dalai Lama about his sex life. So there is a magazine with the paper, which I haven't read that article, which I shall look forward to reading. But yeah, that's in the paper today.
That's...
Hi,
Anne.
Hi. I think from a standpoint of body, mind, and soul, I think our minds or our capacity, when you talk esoteric things, it just, for me, it's like too hard to really understand certain concepts. Like even understanding how huge God is. Even in that, I have a limited perspective, and in kind of like how much God loves me. I think God loves me more than I could ever even imagine. But in my limited, in other words, my perspective has limitations. My brain is only capable of so much, or something like that. But what I can relate to is the word attachments. And what I see is, first of all, what I see is who I think I am isn't who I am. These are like belief systems and programmings and things that I've grown up with, and decisions I've made when I burnt the toast and I was 3 years old, and my mother told me I was no good and I would never amount to, and whatever. I'm making up stories. That isn't what happened. But my attachments, where I'm struggling, let's say spiritually, is letting go of what I'm attached to, letting go of what I think my body should look like, letting go on what beauty is, letting, someone said, make yourself as unattractive as you can and go out and find the guy you want to attract and then drool in front of him, and that'll really break your that'll really break your self-image or something like that, But I don't really know what I'm saying, but I think that it's just beyond me to grasp. Like you say, you have trouble with this. Some of this is just too beyond me to grasp, and I think it comes down to what do I think as self-definition and defining myself. What is it I want to believe? If I want to believe there's no such thing as murder, or whether I believe that, you know what I mean? It's a matter of choosing my own belief systems. I mean, I can get certain things. I do think we're all one. Mm-hmm. And I do like the way he put it with that we're just self-individualizing, or whatever he said, defining ourselves. Mm-hmm. Giving ourselves definition. I mean, a drop of water in the ocean can't say, I'm a drop or whatever. Maybe it can, I don't know. But anyway, so I go back to the only thought that I can have around this is the word attachments, to see that where I'm drawn or where the belief is coming from is from the things I'm attached to. If I want to believe, like with abortion or something like that, it's, I'm bound to this world. So does that make any sense?
Yeah.
What it was? I don't know. I'm just finding a different bubble to look at, a different filter, or a different frame. Like everything's reframing things, and it's what the frame looks like is the perspective, the perception that I feel. One man's treasure is another man's garbage. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I really am not on point today, so
no, I think you're making sense because, we all don't believe the same thing about everything. We just don't. And even growing up in the Catholic Church, there were things I was just like, nope, not buying that. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But there was enough good things in the Catholic Church that I stayed with the church for a long time. And it's sort of like, I don't love everything about my vacuum cleaner, but I like most of what my vacuum cleaner does, and it works for me. And so I think your point is that if something doesn't work for you, or it just strikes you as I don't know, I just say, well, maybe I'll come along to that point. And I want to say that I can remember when I was a kid, and I used to get so hung up in looking up in the sky and thinking of it goes on for infinity. And it would, trouble me. I was like, I just can't understand that. I just don't get it. And I think my mom is the one that said, well, don't think about it. Just quit worrying about it. Your things are good here now. And so I guess that's one of the things I need to think about, is that just because it's said here doesn't mean it's written in stone tablets, if you know what I mean.
But the word that, this is just for this moment or whatever, but the thing is that I see, like in the spiritual process of wanting to become more than I am or something, it really comes down to what as I get more and more involved, where I hit the walls is what I'm attached to, what I'm not ready to let go of, or what I'm holding on to is where I'm attached. If I'm not attached to something, then I'm not caught. Right. But where I get caught is in what I'm attached. So if I'm attached to believing God looks one way, or this or that, it's my attachment to wanting something to be a certain way. That right. Somehow, and if anybody could say anything about that, that would be great. Because I'm stuck on the fact that I don't like being attached to anything. I don't want to be attached anymore to some things. And I see that's where I get stuck.
It's what we decided. It's what we decide is. It is because we say it is. But don't forget that CWG tells us that we in the beginning, at the moment of creation, we decided to forget. If we didn't, we don't want to know it all, because if we knew it all, we wouldn't have the experience. We need to forget to have the experience of life on earth here.
That's a very good point. And just like when my mother said, quit thinking about or, quit thinking about it. And that was an attachment for me at the time, is I wanted to understand that. Well, I'm really glad that what you said, Angela, is that we've forgotten things, and we wouldn't be able to experience life if we hadn't forgotten things. And I also know anybody who's been into a college library, you walk into that library and you sit down near a stack of books and you're looking at stuff that you need to look at. And then you see a book and you think, what the heck is that? And you think, well, I didn't even know that I didn't know about that. So a long time ago, I let go of knowing everything long time ago. And that's part of what makes life is, learning and remembering things from when we did know things.
Well, here's something else about the brain. I don't know how this fits in, but at a certain frequency, we learn things. So, for example, when you're going to school and you take uppers or whatever to cram and to study and get all the information, and you take the test, and then 3 months down the road, you can't remember what you had learned, but you were able to do it the next day. It's because you were at a certain frequency. When you experience something, you're at a certain frequency. You can only have that experience when you're at that frequency. That's why when you're depressed, you can't access what's higher than that. So if some information goes in and you're at a certain frequency, that's where it is. And until you hit that frequency again, you won't be able to attain that information. I don't know if this is actually a science fact of the way our brains work. I just don't know the term, the name that they call it. So the thing is that where we are is where we are. And we're veiled from the next level until, let's say, our frequency or our vibration or whatever goes up there. And then wherever the information comes in is where we can attain. So we're kind of veiled to everything that we're not at. In other words, where we are right now is where we are, but we're kind of veiled to maybe the next level of it or something like that, because we're focusing here. I really am going to stop talking today.
That's okay. One of the things that
that's what I'm saying.
When you're not making sense to yourself anymore, you know it's not.
Go ahead, Angela.
Go ahead, Angela.
About forgetting. We already have this knowledge within us. We know it all. We already know it all. It's already there. And we're forgetting,
correct.
But it's what we remember. So whatever frequency we're on, it's that we're choosing to remember at that time.
Yep, I agree with that. And I think the fact that if you want to use the word attachment, if you don't get attached to saying, because we've all been around people who are know-it-alls or they think they know it all. And I saw a quote the other day that I actually posted on the Facebook page for Humanities Team. This said something like, people will hear you more if you speak less. And I'm a talker, so I'm not, falling into that category, but it makes sense that if you're being a listener and absorbing and taking what Anne said about, I wasn't taking uppers, but I was drinking a lot of coffee, studying for, final exams. And I would literally walk out of one exam and tap myself on the ear and say, that information's got to go because I need that space for the next exam. And, some of it I've remembered, but I just didn't have that much room in my brain and my head to be remembering 5 different classes And if you've been to university, campuses are the tension in the air during those exams is palpable. And so I think now that I'm getting off track, I want to bring this back around to when Neil is saying, are you saying that I can't kill anybody without his or her permission? Are you telling me that at some higher level, everyone who's ever been killed has agreed to be killed? And the answer we've all been talking about is, he said, God says, you're looking at things in earthly terms and thinking of things in earthly terms, and none of this is going to make sense to you. And it wraps it up.
That does. Because that's what I was trying to say at the very beginning is, from the earthly perspective, when I say we have a limited brain, it's from the earthly perspective. This is really, that was so well said.
So can I share something?
Absolutely.
Okay, couple of things. Neil talks about not having requirements, and I wonder if that's just an alternate word for attachments. Because when I heard Anne and others saying that word attachment, the word that kept coming to me was requirement. Hearing Neil talk about not having requirements. You can have desires, you can have wishes, but it's when we have requirements that we cut off the flow, cut ourselves off from the flow of what's possible. That's just one little side thing. So I find this chapter really to be extremely interesting, and because I've had this understanding my whole life, and so to see someone else have put it into words is just so reassuring and kind of amazing. It's like, oh my God, there is somebody else out there that gets it. And in the studying that I've been doing recently, a couple of things have really come through to me, really right around abortion and this whole issue of abortion, because, and it has to do with the spirit and the soul. And I think we talked about this, like, I don't know if it was last week or I just have a deja vu of having shared this already. But our spirit actually resides in our breath. So a baby really doesn't come to life until it on its own takes that first breath. And that's when the spirit and the soul moves into the physical form. It's not that God or oneness, the all that is, isn't in the baby already, because it's in everything already. It's all that is. It's all that exists. It's goop in the bottom of the lava lamp. That's all anything is. And then when the breath comes along, it's like that little lump of goop in the bottom of the lava lamp breaks free and starts floating. That's the first breath the baby takes. And it's been a challenge to me. One of the things that I hold in my intention is to walk out into the world with this knowledge in such a way that people will eventually let go of this judgment that is made over abortion, because we're all the goop. That's all it is. We're all the goop. And if you want to draw a line as to where life starts for a baby, ultimately, if the spirit isn't in the form, then how can it be a baby? I mean, you know what I mean? So there's that. And then the other piece of it that I wanted to share, and this gets really intimate, and I'm a little concerned because we're recording this, but I'm going to go ahead and share it anyway, because I really think it's important. It's an important understanding. I don't know if any of you have ever had an embodiment with Yeshua. I call him, most people call him Jesus. But if you've ever had that experience, what what you discover once you've had that experience is that the power of Christ consciousness, the essence of God, whatever you want to name it, it's in everybody already. It's not like when I had my first one-on-one encounter with Yeshua, I conceived him as being separate from me. And then for several years, and I'm talking like really recent stuff, for several years after that, I'd had 2 additional experiences with him. And in those experiences, what I thought was happening was that he was showing up. Like, I'm here, and he would show up. And in the most recent experience, the 4th one, the thing that kind of cracked me open is, no, he didn't show up. He's here. He's here in me, just like he's here and in everyone. Every single human that walks the face of the earth contains within them Christ consciousness, God, whatever you want to call it. It's there. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter where you came from. It's there. It's in every single one of us. And the process that we're in right now is people waking up to that. That's what we're in. That's what Neil's books are doing. That's what tons of people on this earth are doing right now. They're waking up. And I'll tell you, June 13th, this year, June 13th, I will never be the same, because that was the day that I realized. So he first came to me in a meditation, and he took me into his form, and I became one with him back in February of 2015. And since then, I've been walking around with him there, awake, waiting for me to acknowledge him. And like I said, I had a couple of events where I acknowledged him and we had conversations. But then it was like it was too big. I couldn't handle him being here 24/7, 365. And so you kind of put that back asleep. But now he's here, and I've accepted that he's here. And my life has been totally changed since the 13th of June. Thank you for allowing me to share that.
No, that's beautiful. And I want to look something up very quickly. Okay. June 13th has always been significant for me because it is also Saint Anthony of Padua. And in the Catholic Church, in the stories about Saint Anthony, he was the saint that helped people find things. And so that happening to you on June 13th gave me the chills. I was like, oh God, and so I just wanted to tell you that. And the Christ consciousness that you talk about, I think one of the things I did quite a few hours in learning the religions of the world religions, spirituality. And one of the things that I learned, the more people that I read, it didn't matter whether they were Jewish or Muslim or, whatever faith tradition, that Christ's consciousness was within us all anyway. And probably like others, because of the Jesus freak movement when I was in high school and getting out of high school, it really turned me off. And I didn't want anybody to even know I was Catholic. I was like, oh, they're going to think I'm a Jesus freak. And so when you have that feeling, though, that Christ is with you. And if anybody here has been to the Oklahoma City bombing site, there's this incredible statue of Christ, and he is at one corner of the memorial that was built to all the people that crossed over. And God, or Jesus's back is to the memorial, and he's got his head in his hands, and he's weeping. And it was so powerful that I just thought, oh, mio mio. But anyway, I just wanted to relate that to what you were talking about. And Sarah says there's a book, I Am With You Always, by G. Scott Shepherd, who collected accounts of Christ's experience. People may know of him. He's a spiritual mentor in the U.S. So I will look that up too. Thank you, Sarah. Anybody else? Am I on mute? No, I'm not. I was going to say, God, I hope I wasn't talking that whole time and I was on mute. Anyway, just sit in silence for a few minutes. Well, I'm going to say it looks like we're about to go into chapter 15, which from the sounds of things, oh, goodness gracious. Chapter 15 is like
Short.
Short. Yep. So it may not happen there, but I have a feeling we're getting close to where he's talking about, God is talking about highly evolved beings. But
yeah, it looks like we'll get through 15 and maybe part of 16, depending on how much discussion, because 16 is a little on the long side, it looks like.
Yep. Well, we'll take it as we always do.
Yeah.
But I want to thank everybody, as usual, for sharing. And I think that's really cool. And Linda, I will always think of you on June 13th now, along with my buddy, St. Anthony. And we'll just continue on. And I'm glad everybody was participating. Shabana, I'm surprised. I mean, I'm assuming that you're having trouble with your bandwidth, but we're glad you're here.
Thank you. I just wanted to say to Anne, is it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Your sharing was very, very instructive and valuable to me. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And the rest of you weren't terrible either.
I love you, Shabana.
What is June 13th? What was the June 13th thing?
Well, that was the day that Linda said that well, Linda, why don't you answer that?
Yeah, for me this year, June 13th was when I finally realized that I'd been walking around with Jesus in me all this time. And
I just had to share. I had to share with you that June 13th was the same for me 21 years ago when that happened. June 13th is my sobriety date. I got sober 21 years ago. So I was just saying it's interesting. Two June 13th when there's 4 people on a call.
Right.
Yeah.
That's 50%.
Yeah.
So anyway.
That is cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for the wish on the happy Independence Day for everyone in the U.S.
Yep.
And we won't be around our desk, but I don't usually venture out of my cocoon for Humanities Team during the week. But anyway, I'm looking forward to chapter 15. And I will try to get this uploaded as soon as I can.
Thank you very much, Nanette.
You are welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Bye, Angela and Sarah and Linda and Ann.
Bye. Happy 4th. Happy 4th.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. You too. Love you, everybody.
Hey.